All right, so lesson 1.5 is on rewriting equations and formulas. There's some important vocab today because the learning target is I can rewrite literal equations. So first off, we need to know what a literal equation is. So a literal equation is an equation that has two or more variables. So an example of this is 4x plus 2y equals 10. There's both an x and a y. There's two or more variables. A formula shows how one variable is related to another. So that's where you're going to have one variable on a side. So here's an example, area equals base times height. Or if you're solving for the base, you have area divided by height. So the first one, this one, is an example for a formula for area. And this one would be a formula to find the base. All right, so when we are rewriting equations and formulas, you might want to write these steps down. They will help you out later. Step 1 is to simplify by combining like terms. And then step 2 is to get the variable you're solving for by itself. So inverse operations are going to be super important here because we're not going to get nice number answers. If there's two or more variables, there will be a different variable on the other side. But the important thing is that we get the variable that we're solving for by itself. All right, so example 1, solve the literal equation for y. Notice that the y is highlighted, it's blue. So we're going to get y by itself. Now there's a couple things I notice on this part A. I have 3y minus x. So there are two operations going on here. We have subtraction with the x, and then we have multiplication with the 3. We're going to use inverse operations to undo both of those and get the y by itself. When we're undoing equations using inverse operations, remember we use GEMDAs backwards. So we're going to start by undoing that subtraction by adding x to both sides. Now x is going to cancel out on the left. I'm going to have 3y equals 9 plus x. Now I can't combine 9 and x because they are not like terms, so I just leave that addition on that side. Now I have one more step to get y by itself. I need to divide both sides by 3. So the 3's cancel out on the left. I have y equals, and when I divide by 3, I have to make sure I do every term on that right side. So 9 divided by 3 is 3, and x divided by 3, I can either leave as x over 3, or I'm going to write 1/3 x. So when we solve the literal equation for y, we get y equals 3 plus 1/3 x. That's our answer. All right, part B. We have 2x minus 2y equals 14. Now there are no like terms to combine, so we're thinking GEMDAs backwards. First thing we're going to undo is the subtraction part. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. Cancels out on the left. I have negative 2y equals 14 minus 2x. Remember, technically those are addition, which is why we subtracted 2x to get rid of it, because 2x was positive. But because it was subtracting 2y, the 2y stays negative. That's why there's a negative sign in front of the 2. All right, and then we have one more step. We have to divide by negative 2. And we get y equals 14 divided by negative 2 is negative 7. Negative 2x divided by negative 2 is just 1x. All right, I encourage you to pause the video at this time and see if you can do C by yourself, and then check it to see if you got the right answer. I'm going to go ahead and solve for C now. All right, so we're going to start by subtracting 8x from both sides. So now we have 20 minus 8x equals 4y. And then to get y by itself, we have to divide by 4. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. Negative 8x divided by 4 is negative 2x equals y. There we go. All right, so now we're solving the literal equation for x. Notice the x is now blue. And remember that first step was to simplify by combining like terms. So in part A, I see 5x minus 4x. 5x and 4x are like terms, so I can combine those. So I'm going to rewrite this equation as y equals, and 5x minus 4x is just 1x. And that's my answer, x equals y. All right, part B, there are no like terms to combine, but we're going to get x by itself. So first thing we're going to undo is this addition. I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. Cancels out on the left. I have 2x equals 2y minus 10. And last step, we're going to divide by 2. Remember, we have to make sure we divide every term on both sides by 2 when we do that. So 2y divided by 2 is just y. And negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. So x equals y minus 5. All right, and this is where I encourage you to pause the video, see if you can do C by yourself, and then check back to see if you got it right. All right, I'm going to solve for x now. So 5x minus 7x, we're going to combine these like terms. That is negative 2x. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3 minus 2x equals y. Then we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So I have negative 2x equals y minus 3. And last step, we're going to divide by negative 2. So my answer is x equals negative 1/2 y plus 3/2. You could also just leave this as y minus 3 over negative 2. All right, and let's wrap it up with some summary questions. So what is a literal equation? Well, check back with your vocab. A literal equation is an equation with 2 or more variables. How do you solve a literal equation for a given variable? You want to get the variable you're solving for by itself. And what is a strategy you can use to help you solve literal equations? Well, we use GEMDAS backwards, we use inverse operations, and you can think of formulas to help because you want one variable by itself on one side, just like a formula. So why is it important to understand how to rewrite a given formula? Well, this is actually going to be applicable in several situations. So say we have fencing. We know the length of the fencing, which would be the perimeter, but we don't know what we want the sides to be. So you would have to rewrite that formula for perimeter to solve for either the length or the height. Same thing with area, like was in our example on the vocab page. Say we know the area, but we want to know the base or height. We have to rewrite that formula so that we're solving for B or H.